Hello, everyone. Everyone. It's just a couple of people, but um, it's good to have you here, Dana, Muddy. I think Justin is more of a ghost.
It wasn't a big one's father.
Quickly run. Thank you.
It wasn't a big one's father.
Oh, he's not a ghost. That's okay like that. Thank you. Hello.
Not a ghost.
Let me see. Get this turned on properly. All right. Okay. I missed whatever you said. It might have just been hello.
Just said hello, not a ghost.
Okay. Okay, good. Good. Not a ghost. Very good. All right. Awesome. Hello, Dana. Might be, is that our first time meeting?
It is, yes. I just sent a question through the thing. So yeah, this is someone on the LEAP team suggested that I join the weekly Q&A to kind of figure out where to jump back in. So
yeah, sure. Get some suggestions of where to start. I've been dealing with a pretty dire health, so I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, cool. All right. So where hey Muddy. Where are you at as far as like have you ran multiple events or not ran any events yet, or where are you at?
No
still,
events yet.
Still
no,
kicking
like
off.
I was, yeah.
Fair enough. All right. And so what is your what's your plan for the first thing that you want to do? What type of event is it?
I'm still trying to figure that out, really.
Okay.
So the company that I run, we mostly do events for other people. But one of the things that seemed like a good idea was for me to do an event to try to attract clients to sign up for our services. So I'm really starting at square one. Like when I signed up for LEAP, I was ready to go and then just got hit pretty hard with the health stuff, and it's taken every ounce of energy and time to get through that. So
fair enough. Okay.
So literally starting at square one, I think, is what it ends up being. So
yeah, sure. And so you've been experience of Obvio as even like as an attendee, you've been to LEAP, to the TVE, one or two of those. Yep. So you've kind of got the idea of where it works. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, have you maybe did you before see some of those workshop videos that Blue did? Have you seen those at all? It was 4 or 6 or maybe
and
more.
maybe that's where I see it on the dashboard
workshop
now.
recordings. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's probably a good place to start. Okay.
It is actually for someone that really wants to really quickly get started, it may not be the best, right? But for someone that just wants to kind of really just dive in and just and get a good overview of what's going on, it's a great way to start, right? Because Blue's really stepping through all of the different elements of Obvio and what it does, So I think what's helpful is when we understand just the basics of what Obvio is doing, particularly because it can get confusing a little bit sometimes when we think that it's using Zoom, so like sometimes it's been funny when we've asked ChatGPT or those sorts of things about Obvio sort of marketing copy, and it jumps really quickly to don't just use Zoom, use Obvio. And it's like, okay, that's okay, except that Obvio
Mm.
is still using Zoom, as we are right
Right,
now,
right,
right?
right.
And so what is it about it? It's more about how you get into Zoom and sort of that attendee experience as they
Mhm.
come to an Obvio event. In the same way that you got to this event now, there's an email, you're clicking a link, it's going
Mhm.
to the dashboard, you're clicking join main stage, and now you're in Zoom. And so if you think about that from an attendee, thank you, an attendee's point of view, if they might be used to daily clicking links, joining Zoom, right? It might be, but what is that? Often, what is that experience? It's they click it and then it says waiting for host to start the meeting, or
Mhm.
host has been notified that you're now in the waiting room, whatever it is, right? It's not a wonderful experience. And and so when we think about that's the business meeting use of Zoom, for Obvio, we want a different experience. We want a really special, Obvio experience,
Mhm.
which we often think is kind of like an in-person event that's held in a ballroom. Chances are you don't just have nothing in the foyer. You don't just have the ballroom and people have to just find their way and open the door, and no one's there to greet them. No, we've thought about what's the experience that people have when they come to the foyer of that ballroom. What's the sort of information they can get, and who can they talk to, and all of that sort of stuff before they get into the ballroom. So that's actually kind of a good analogy for we're thinking about how we use Obvio to create a home, a foyer, if you will, before the event, during the event, and after the event. And so when you think about it like that, it's like, okay, great. If the bare minimum is that we have a button that gets us into the ballroom, into the Zoom meeting, that's super important. It'd also be great that particularly if people come before the event, then we really want to have like a countdown, particularly because we're often having attendees from all different time zones, and still people get very confused with time zones, and so it's nice to have, if the event starts in 2 hours, it doesn't matter what time zone you're in, it's going to start in 2 hours, and so it's nice to have a countdown. And then maybe there's some other resources, helpful resources, PDFs, and maybe there's some videos or things that people might be interested in for before the event starts, and a welcome note or whatever, right? So now the experience is that someone gets this email. If we've got it all in place, this is the idea. If we've got the emails going out with the special link, is a personalized link for every attendee, then they get a personalized email. They click that link, it goes to a dashboard that tells them exactly when the event's going to start and some access to some information. So if they were 5 hours early because they calculated it wrong, they're going to have that information instantly. It's not just going to say waiting for host to start meeting and you're not quite sure exactly when that's going to start, right? And so same goes for when the event is on. People come late, okay, they can see, oh, right, okay, so it has been going for 30 minutes. Okay. And so now I'll join, I'll go back in. There's some ways now that during the event, it's a bit of a nicer experience coming in. And of course, particularly with this time zone issue, what if someone comes after the event? That your event's already been, you finished for day one, or you finished just for the one session that you're going to do. And now they come and they can see, okay, you can change that dashboard information a little bit. The event's now concluded, for today or for the event. And here's when the next one is, or here's some information that you missed, or here's some access to a recording that will come, or whatever it is, right? It's a way better experience than I clicked on the Zoom link. It said waiting for the host to start. I had no idea when it was, if it was finished or if I got the wrong link or whatever it was. So see how just from a basic level, what what are we trying to create for attendees is a different experience than another business meeting that you're always dealing with. We're still using Zoom because we believe, even 5-6 years on, we're still like, it's the best for doing what we want to do, being able to see all of our attendees and people being familiar with it. And so all of that is great. We're still using Zoom, but we're just making that process a little bit better. And then the other big key thing about Obvio, and the reason that we had to build out something like this, was particularly to scale beyond often 1,000 people. So in order to scale beyond 1,000 people, you need multiple Zoom meetings. And so in order to do that, you need something that manages all those multiple meetings. So when we'll do a Tony Robbins event, for example, we might have 30,000 people that are all coming. And so we need lots of Zoom meetings and be able to make that a really simple process for the attendees. They click the button, it assigns them to a room. And there's a whole bunch of other tricks that we've got that help to manage those large scale events. But if I'm boiling it all down, it's nice to just have, okay, what is it that Obvio is doing? It's really key about the event delivery. And Blue's often called it like a temporary membership site, where it's just for a certain number of days, often is that you've signed up or registered, you've paid, maybe, if it's a paid event, you've now got access to this temporary membership site, which is the Obvio dashboard. That's going to get you access to Zoom. It's going to get you access to some resources or workbooks or, whatever else you need. And maybe it's even, you might have recordings, you may not have recordings, but it could be a place where people can go back and see some recordings of certain sessions if that's what you wanted. So it's not necessarily that you asked that question, Dana.
No,
but it was
that's
just,
great. Thank you.
Giving you framework around like,
Yes.
well, what is Obvio? What is it? What is it not? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a CRM, right? It's not a CRM.
Right.
It's not a membership, sort of, or a community hub, right? Like, because it's not that. And although it has these different features that overlap in some of those other services, it really is about that, making a really special event experience. Now,
awesome.
Often what's been happening for some people is that where they are with just wanting to get something started, we have still been encouraging people that it's more important for you to get an event happening than it is for it to be the full Obvio experience to start with. Sure. And so if it's helpful, sometimes people have just been doing a Zoom meeting, as much as I was just talking about it being a Zoom, just a standard Zoom business meeting. It's better to do that than be constantly pulled back on it. It's too overwhelming to try to turn all the Obvio stuff on. It's better to be able to have an event with 10 people that came, for you to learn a whole bunch of stuff and then be like, okay, yeah, now I can see exactly where Obvio fits in because I've done an event. I've got one under my belt. And first is worst, as we've heard. And then it's like, okay, now I know the next little thing that I'm going to do with Obvio just to get me over the line with using Obvio. And then we're off and we can iterate on each event. So,
okay. Thank you. That helps anchor my thinking a little bit, and I'll go back and watch those workshop recordings.
Yeah, I think you'll find that fascinating because it's Blue just kind of stepping through all the different features, and it's a great place to start and not be stressed about exactly when you're going to do something. So
yeah, thank you so much.
Cool. No worries at all.
All right,
you're welcome.
Thanks.
All right, Muddy, is there a way to direct link to an Obvio form? If we're using a Q&A form on the dashboard, and wonder if I can drop a direct link into the chat. Submit a question. No, not at the moment. I was just thinking about whether we could repurpose another page if you weren't using a page, that you could, a speaker's page or, that type of thing where it could potentially do that. But then it depends.
Well, and that's still
Thing.
kind of the same experience of it's 2 clicks, right? One click to the dashboard and then another click to the form. And only because I got some feedback from the event we ran today and it was partly I take full responsibility. The host was doing a great job saying, go to the dashboard and click the button to submit a question because we had multiple rooms. And so, and that should have been my cue to drop the link in chat to go back to the dashboard. And I had forgotten to do that. And so the feedback, actually, it was a real estate event, and my wife, who's a real estate broker, came to the event. And this is the first event she's ever been to in Obvio, and she had no idea. She's like, I don't know what the dashboard is or how to get there. And she was on her phone, so it's a little more cumbersome than being on a laptop. And so I was just thinking of, ideally, there's some way, and I feel like, I don't know if it was you or Blue talked about a dream of having a little mini dashboard that can run as a Zoom app right in Zoom, right? Because she's looking all around the Zoom interface for, and again, she's familiar with calls, but she's never been, this was her first time someone talking about a dashboard, right? So, and it was good feedback. It just got me thinking that best case scenario is a little mini dashboard as a Zoom app, but we're not there yet. Second best is, could I put a link in that somehow is a way to just submit a question that's still a little bit more of an in Zoom experience, but I think just remembering to drop the link is a good it's a good place to start to help people get back to the dashboard.
It's not a terrible idea, and I mean, of course, yeah, we're still talking about like a mini Obvio dashboard inside Zoom, specifically for that reason, and particularly for large scale events. It makes that really handy, and accessing resources and stuff at the point. So we're still exploring that, and it's only just been in recent days, the last couple of months, is that it looks like we might be able to launch an app within as a Zoom host through Obvio. That's been part of the issue as well, is you needed to be logged in, but we have actually been able to get one going in an Obvio without being logged into Zoom. So that's progressing, and that would be really exciting. In the meantime, yeah, there's not a direct link. I guess I would, a slight workaround for me would be having the form in line, not as a modal, on the dashboard, and have it right at the top. Right. So as soon as you load the dashboard, right there, above the fold, is the inline form. So it's not another click. You're straight there and you see the form, and that could happen just during the event, and then after the event, you could
put it on,
move it, put it back to modal or whatever, right? So I think how I feel about questions. I think it's key. I think it's super key, and I think part of it is also educating, particularly sometimes they're not multiple day events, but when they are, is really teaching your audience to be posting questions outside of the time that the event is, right? And so that you end up with many more questions than you're able to answer. But it is an advantage of being able to say, you can come to this dashboard anytime and post questions. Now,
the thing that was unique about this is a lot of the questions were for the keynote presenter, right? And it's like, okay, here's here's an hour-long presentation about, 5 things your real estate your competitors are doing to steal your listings, right? And it's like,
Right.
oh, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? So it was, a lot of, they hadn't seen any of the content necessarily, so that's one unique facet. But okay,
Fair enough.
and I can think of other using some external tool as the
Yeah.
Q&A, but we're using moderation and lower thirds. Like, we're really leaning into the
Right.
Q&A aspect, or the form aspect in Obvio. So love that. Yeah, just remember to drop the link. That's a good solution for the short term for that. So here's the second
Yeah.
thing that happened, that would love to have a way to, I mean, we came up with a way to address it, but there's got to be a more elegant way. Well, I don't think there is, but I would love there to be a more elegant way, which is when someone submits a question. We had one situation where someone submitted a question and it was really kind of like 3 questions in one, right? It was like this and this and this. And it was like, okay, I'd love to be able to split those apart into 3 separate questions.
Hmm.
I don't think there is any way to manage or edit the questions through the Q&A board, through the moderation board. And I kind of understand why, and these are pulling from, kind of from a database format. And so it's really a visual engine more than an editing engine. But would there be a way? And the way that we solved it is the question manager, the person who is managing the questions, we also had them logged into a dashboard, and we named them local agent. And so they could submit questions. And so basically they just had to retype the question in 3 different parts. But now it comes through as, here's a question submitted by a local agent, as opposed to,
Yeah.
the individual person's name. And so it's not quite as elegant. So, and or a way to actually add questions
Yeah.
right from the moderation panel, as opposed to having to go back to the dashboard. But
2 very reasonable requests, Justin. It's worth us writing this down as far as being able to edit questions, because I even think about being able to fix spelling errors and things like that. Right? It's not necessarily about totally changing someone's question, but yeah, fixing a little error. Or sometimes also it's a matter of they've missed a word, and so putting the word back in so that when a question reader reads it out, they don't stumble across it because there's a word missing.
and
So
we
from
we have this
editing,
showing on the
yeah,
screen, and
right,
hopefully thousands of people watch the replay, and it's like, we want to help them look good, right? So
yeah. And similarly, I do think that being able to being able to add a question, I think is helpful too. And the way that we have this is somewhat built on a system that I built, or designed around a system that I built to be able to drag and drop questions, and that system has continued to develop. And one of the things that we added in that is messages, so that you could sort of group questions together, and then you might want to put a little note in that was just for the host, that just kind of says, 5 more questions to come, or 30 more questions to come, or 1 more question, 10 more minutes to go, whatever it is. It was just like an extra prompt. And so being able to add a question, I think is helpful for that. I think the workarounds you've got, while clunky, are probably the best that you can do. Of course, you could log in as the person, and then log it, right? But that's
yeah,
pretty clunky.
this was, during this portion
At
of the
the heat of it
event,
all.
there's they're coming in pretty rapid fire, and we're trying to manage it all. So yeah, okay, good. Well, good to know. I've got some of the more reasonable workarounds in place, and just kind of
Yeah.
future enhancements to add.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have played around with, I don't know whether this type of thing anyway, something that I played around with the Obvio API was actually using Zoom OSC, pulling questions from the chat and pushing them back in as forms, as a form response. And so, and that was working, but just, of course, it depends on the scale of the event, right? Because I was filtering based on, it needs to have a question mark in the chat, needs to have a question mark, and it needs to be at least 5 words. And so that was one way of filtering questions on a large event that worked quite well. But
well, it's interesting because I had two lists of kind of feature requests for the Obvio chatbot that Blue built as well. One of those
yes,
was being able to have some filters or custom filters where, if we tell people start with a question mark or 3 question marks or start with Q, something that it's like, okay, we can identify some nomenclature that we can put in there that flags something as a question, being able to kind of sort those into a small, because we did end up kind of manually adding 3 or 4 what ended up being good questions in the chat, just that we happened to catch, right? There was probably,
yeah,
there were other questions that went by and we weren't worried about it because we told people not to put their questions there. But, we happened to see a couple good ones and brought them over. But it'd be neat, especially since we're compiling all that chat into one unified output. There they are right there. It'd be nice to be able to kind of help do some sorting or filtering in real time. And the other feature request is being able to reply to those from the chatbot
right,
too. And there may be something in the works, because I did see that there's
yeah. There's some reply stuff playing around.
something around a conflict queue, like, it's looking for problems, and it looks like you could potentially respond to those. So, it may not be that far off to be able to say, I want to respond to a thread. But yeah,
Yeah,
all in
yep,
all, good event. Avio did great and helps the whole event. And actually, I just do want to call out the fact that there are 2 things in particular that we heard from the feedback we got today. One was from an attendee who hadn't attended one of these events before. After the keynote presentation, the audience got a chance to go into breakout rooms and have kind of a mini mastermind with 4 or 5 of their peers and talk about what were their key insights and what do they want to implement from the keynote presentation. And the feedback was, I've been to so many things, and this is, they never give us a chance to kind of meet in table groups, meet in small groups like that. And that was kind of the highlight. And 2 people they
yeah,
totally connected and took each other's information down and are going to help keep each other accountable. And it's like that was the power of interaction.
yeah,
And then the other bit of feedback was, to your point, that Q&A, we had such a engaged and lively Q&A session that we
yeah,
covered, the keynote presenter is trying to deliver something that they think is really on point, right? I mean, it's for this audience, it's custom for this audience, but having people be able to ask specific questions and get that insight is like laser focused on the needs of those of the audience. And that was some of the best part of the meeting, was this really engaged, really interactive Q&A session. And one of the mastermind panelists, as we were debriefing at the end, he said, I've been to tons of events like this, and this was by far the best one. It totally stands out because of that level of interaction. And
yeah,
he mentioned the production as well, but I wanted to highlight the interaction was really a thing that stood out. So it's just a testament to some of the tools and power of virtual event and things that Avio helps enable.
yeah. It's great, Muddy, and it's a couple of, there's almost a couple of soapboxes that I get on from time to time, and that is the ability to be able to do some of these things that sets it apart from in-person events. And so you're actually being able to do some of these things like that the post-event discussions. Sometimes I call it parking lot talk, right? Like it's people. If you're in person, it's people will, the event finishes, they'll turn to a few people around them and they'll have a bit of a discussion. They'll get into the foyer and then another group sort of forms, and then they get to the parking lot and they might be still standing around with 3 or 4 people still talking about the event. And so why with virtual events do we say, okay, thanks everyone, end meeting? So, I mean, this is just a tip that I would say to people. Firstly is let people leave on their own timeline. It makes very little difference to you to leave your event running and just have people feel like they weren't kicked out or weren't pushed out, but they left of their own accord. And sometimes at an event, you'll see people will just hang around at the end and they might be just sitting there and thinking, and you've got some background music going. Maybe you got some slides showing of what the next event is or whatever it is. It's a very simple thing to do, to just leave it, let it run. People are still just like in that moment, still processing some of that stuff. If they need 5 or 10 minutes, what's the big problem, right? It's not a big problem. And so I would say this for all of your online meeting interactions, that let people leave and you be the last one to close the meeting, not kill it. Host has ended the meeting. It's a different feeling, right? It's like you've just pushed them out of the office, or you've pushed them out of the ballroom when they just needed a couple of minutes. So that's one thing. The other thing is that parking lot talk. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. As Muddy said, putting people into random groups of 5, 6, 7, that type of thing works really well. People will leave if they want to leave. They'll go. That's fine. They have to go. They go. But there's people that would just hang around for another 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. There's been events that I've ran that you can keep track of it in the breakout rooms. You can see that there's people still talking. If you plan for it, you have a team, or you're happy just to keep an eye on it while you're doing other things. They manage themselves and people have great experience, and you're doing nothing. You've just had a place for people to be able to sit and chat about your event. It's a very easy thing to do. The other way you can do it as well is with breakout rooms. You can say allow people to move between breakout rooms. And so you could have, depending on how many people you've got 50 people that have come to your event. They're all there at the end, and you're going to say, I'm going to open 10 rooms and assign people, but I'm going to allow people to move between rooms. And what that now means, very similar to in the ballroom, all these groups have just sort of formed, but people are just kind of walking between them. No problems at all. Now you allow people to go to breakout rooms and click and join another one, or 3 of the people that were in their room just left and there's only 2 people left. Hey, how about we go to another breakout room? And off they go. They can join themselves. It's one step. And the third way of doing that is to have topics for those. There's some events that I've ran where at the end of the event, we've said, hey, we're just going to open a bunch of breakout rooms. Is there any topics that people are interested, to discuss? As just a very casual post-event type place to hang out and talk about that topic. And people put in the chat, yeah, I want to talk about the color red and I want to talk about spaghetti. It's like, great. Okay, so we rename those groups, those breakout rooms, to the color red and spaghetti. And now people are like, oh, sweet. Breakout rooms have just opened. I really want to find out more about spaghetti. So I click on the breakout room for spaghetti, and now you've got 20 people that are in there all talking about spaghetti. Like, this is just so easy. You're not facilitating discussion. This is just creating a space and making it available for people to be able to have post-event discussion. The worst thing that happens with this is everyone goes home, like everyone turns off. That's fine. But inevitably there will be people, it's not everyone, but it might be 20, 30%, 40% that'll hang around and just and want to discuss things. Muddy?
There are times when we've when we've set up topical rooms like that, we've also created a room that is the quiet lounge,
Right.
or and because sometimes, especially over a 3-day event, like there's a lot of peopling, right? Like every now and then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I just need to just go and not hear the music, not hear the break music. I just need kind of a quiet place to go that I don't want to leave. And inevitably we'll have, a couple people just having quiet community, right? And just anyway, just another thing to add to that.
Yep. Yeah, and I just wanted to pick up on the questions aspect as well.
Yeah.
Questions are very, very powerful. They're powerful even for people to put into words the things that they're wrestling with. And so sometimes it is just an immediate response to something that someone said, and they're like, "Oh, how do you do this?" But sometimes it's a key roadblock for them, and they really just need to be able to give them space to be able to put into words that sentence that is a roadblock, and what can I do about that. And then the power of your audience hearing other people's questions is tremendously powerful, because it often puts into words what that person can't put into words themselves. They haven't got to that point. It's like, yes, I couldn't name that myself, but that's exactly how I feel. That's the nugget of information I need that's going to get me unstuck. You're then teaching, and sometimes it does take teachers. Often speakers are not necessarily geared into this in the same way. But when you can prep a speaker to say, we don't want you to take a question and then rant for 15 minutes. We want you to be really focused on answering as many questions as you can. And you want to do it justice, of course. And sometimes one question will take a little bit longer than others. But the more questions that you get to, the more you've engaged individually with the different people, and the broader topics that you've jumped onto, and that's really helped the wide audience. And so panel discussions are a little bit like that. It can be very tricky where you put panels together, and often a moderator is thinking, I want to make sure that all of these panelists get equal time and that they get time to be able to speak. And so you do this panel discussion, which is about taking questions, and inevitably you end up with you've taken 3 questions in the hour, because it's you listening to all of these panelists. Whereas if you flip this, if you take a step back and go, who is the most important in those panel discussion questions? If we don't think about it, we think the panelists are the most important people in the room, in the space. I would argue that the attendees are the most important, and that the panelists are serving those attendees, or the speaker is serving those attendees. How are they best serving them? By answering as many questions as they can, and going through that, and then you'll get more questions, you get more interactions, and people love it. And so I love what Muddy's bringing up, because it's like, here's the networking stuff. I miss the networking that we have when I come in person with people. It's like, okay, well, we can create opportunities for that, and we can create international opportunities, because we've got an international audience. We can get people from all around the world that are connecting, and we're going to have those networking opportunities. And then lots of the interaction that helps with questions and just question management. And that can be just managed in chat as well, depending on how big your event is. You can just manage it. Anyway, I realize that I'm doing the opposite of what I'm saying. And that is that we've had one question and I've spent a whole bunch of time not answering other people's questions.
And Grant, before we go on, I actually have a couple things to add on for this, for Muddy in particular. But he mentioned earlier, looking through the chat for questions, because I know Muddy uses Zoom OSC and Companion, there is social stream interaction in there. And so you could have it look for like a Q colon to start start the Zoom chat and send it over to Social Stream Ninja so that you could at least see the chats in there. It doesn't tie into Obvio directly, but at least it's an easier way to potentially filter those chats for yourself. And potentially you could use that as your lower third as well. Because I know Social Stream offers a lower third that you could pull up, and there's some moderation in Social Stream. So that could be the today immediate solution you could use to do moderation for Zoom questions right inside just the Zoom chat and have your team doing that. But wanted to add that one in. And then I had one other thing unrelated to what Muddy has talked about so far, but an update that I know we made an Obvio that he'll be super happy about. But so for enterprise users that have a team access panel, if you had a dashboard that had a dark background before, you couldn't read 3/4 of the actual text in the team panel. Now the team panel always has a white background, so you'll always be able to actually see the text inside the panel. I know Muddy will be very happy about that because we've both run a couple events together where we're like, where's that text you're supposed to click on that happened to be dark and dark?
Right. Mind blowing that we could change a background. That's great.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Hello. Extra people have dropped in. A few familiar and a few not as familiar faces. Giselle, you wrote bought membership.io to run a course I've just started. I see that the connection with Obvio, but I'm not sure what we can do by connecting Obvio with membership. Yeah. So the key thing that you can do is bring over recordings from Obvio. So recordings that have been recorded in the Zoom cloud, through your Obvio account, you can bring into membership.io. And so it's an easier way to get recordings instead of having to download them and then upload them. They can be brought across immediately. Is that kind of how you're using membership.io for hosting videos?
I just started, so I'm not a techie girl, so I'm trying to learn all this technology. And I also
enough.
didn't know, is it possible that we can record videos in Zoom? I mean, in Obvio, or it's Zoom? How does that work?
Yeah. So the way that that's working, like right now, what I'm doing this event in Obvio, this is a Q&A event that we do every week. And we have our master account, the master Zoom account for Obvio, auto starts recording on all of your meetings. So as soon as you start an Obvio room and Zoom pops up, it'll be recording in the cloud. And so and you'll see that because it'll say in the Zoom interface that it's recording. And I can just show you an example here.
I do understand how to record in Zoom because I have done that. Like I have recorded in Zoom. But there's any difference between recording in Zoom and doing it through Obvio?
Yeah. So yeah, we get this sometimes where it feels like it's different. The Obvio Zoom experience is different to a normal Zoom experience. And it is only slightly in that Obvio includes an enterprise Zoom account. And the way that works is that you've got access to be able to run your meetings in the Obvio Zoom account. Once you've clicked and launched, or you click start in Obvio, that launches Zoom. For all intents and purposes, that is a normal Zoom experience now. There's nothing special about that makes it Obvio, only that it is an Obvio owned Zoom account. So, and so because of that, you don't have access in the same way where you could log into the admin section of Zoom and you could find all the settings and find recordings and things like that. And so what we have specifically for recordings, and we're talking about cloud recordings. This is not about local recordings that you do in Zoom, but a cloud recording. what I'm showing you right here is Obvio, the event that we're in right now. You can see we've got 13 people in the main stage room at the moment. And when I go down to this room just here, and I click on, well, there's two places you can do it because there's only one room in this. There's actually this recordings button right here. When I click that, it's going to load all of the recordings. Now this will take some time because this event has been going for, I don't know, 4 years or something. So we'll see how it goes. But what it does is it loads all the recordings that have happened for this event and for that meeting, for that room. And that's where you can download those recordings. And you've got, excuse me, you've got the speaker view. You've got, here you go. So these are all the different downloads that happen, all the different files that are created in the cloud for when you hit record. What it's done is it's created, often this one is like this might be the one that you would use the most, and that is speaker view with shared screen. So with what I'm doing right now, it will show the share screen. And then when I stop share screen, it'll show me full screen. When someone talks, it shows them full screen. That's what that is. Active speaker would be without the shared screen at all, and it's just showing the person talking the whole time. And then you've got shared screen, but with gallery view. So when there's not shared screen, you see all the faces of the gallery view. Shared screen by itself, gallery view by itself, audio, just an audio track of the recording, audio transcript to be able to see everything that was said in audio, and then chat file is a text document of all the chat that people have written in the chat, the text. And then we've also got a little, if that AI companion is just the thing that Zoom does, and so that you can have sort of a summary of what happened in that event. You can click on that. And so that's the recordings. They are Zoom recordings. They're Zoom cloud recordings. We've just created the option for you to be able to access those. And so when we're talking about membership.io, all it's doing is shortcutting this to be able to say, here's all the recordings. What do you want to bring into membership.io? So that's what that shortcut is. Is that making sense?
Yes, just one question. Is there any difference in the quality of the videos if you do via Zoom by itself or because of your enterprise account? Is there any quality, issue? I mean,
Yeah.
meaning improvement in quality, not just.
Yeah. So a standard Zoom account, like if you just buy one, will create a standard definition video. So 360p is what it's called. So that'll be whereas in the enterprise account that we have, and it's all enabled, it does up to 1080p full HD video. So the recordings that you get in the cloud through the Obvio account is better than what you would have from a standard Zoom account.
Okay, so for me to access that, I never used the Obvio. So if I need to access and start making my videos there, where should I go to get started?
Yeah, okay. So you're talking about making videos with
Yeah,
other
that's what I was.
people,
Yeah,
or
just
okay,
recording videos, like because
the
there's
sessions.
meetings that are sessions, and there
Yeah.
are other recordings that are part of creating modules of information. So I was just wondering if I can record, of course, the group, but I also would like to be able to record the modules that are by independent, they are not related to the group. Is it possible to do that via Zoom via Ovio,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
would you
Look,
suggest something else?
well, look, I think that often what I think about is that you will get a better recording experience if you record it locally, as in the camera that you've got, being able to record locally, you would get a higher quality of recording than what Zoom does. But if you're trying to record also the interaction and questions and things like that that people might have, then yes, the Zoom recording would be okay. I guess I would just say too, recording is always a funny one because anyone that does a lot of recording has had bad experience, has had at least a bad experience where it didn't record. And generally, we would say that the Zoom recording ideally is a backup. And so, if you think about all the content that you're delivering and all the modules, and you step back and you think, okay, how much of all of that is just me, and how much is other people? Often it might be 80% you, 90% you, 95% you. If that's the case, then doing some sort of recording where you are locally is, I would say, would be your primary recording. And then the Zoom recording would be your backup recording. And that way, if something happens, you've at least got some sort of backup, because we've had people that do a 3-day event, thought that everything was recording, but found out that one of their co-hosts in Zoom turned off recording, thinking that it was only for them. And it turned off the cloud recording, and now they have no recording of their event whatsoever. And so, yeah, I just put that warning in there. We've got the system there. Often it works great. I do run some events where we only use the cloud recording, but it's only because I'm prepared to lose those recordings if something went wrong. It's okay, and it's not detrimental. Sometimes you have sold the event and you've sold the access to recordings, and now you don't want to be in a point where you're trying to refund people's money because you weren't able to deliver on the recording. So that's just something to think about with the recordings. Does that answer that?
Yes, I just, if there's a place I can go just to learn where to navigate through having the access to Zoom, so via Obvio, like how to navigate through that. I'd love to know if there's a place to go to learn, because I never used it. So
yeah. So a place to start with understanding what Obvio can do for you, because obviously more than just Zoom, is on the dashboard that you just came through. There's a link that is workshop recordings. I think, is that what it's called? Workshop. Workshop recordings. That was a workshop that Blue did. Sorry, just one second. So that workshop recordings is Blue stepping through all the different aspects of Obvio, and that's a really good place, because then that will give you a good overview of exactly what Obvio can do for you.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problems. You're very welcome. All right. I'll double check questions here. Cool. do you know, Jeff's asking about emoji rain demo. Make it rain. Make it rain emojis. We talked about this last week, didn't we, Justin? We talked about it.
We did.
Without Jeff's presence. We still talked about it.
I find that rather encouraging.
Yeah, we were both saying this would be a fun project to go do, and we could probably get AI to create us some stuff.
I was telling Justin outside of this time here on screen that I'm filming a bunch of demos right now. And the challenge is, in the education industry, you can't just use recordings of events. There's kind of strict contracts around what can be used, especially if there's minors and stuff involved. And so, while I have a lot of footage, I can't use it. So we're trying to show people what Zoom tiles looks like on our backdrop and Obvio emojis. It's like, shoot, I've got this great footage, but I've got this contract in the way. So.
that makes sense. Yeah, it's totally worth it. The dev team have been working a lot on Obi. They're kind of working across those different things, and so some of the wish list has been sitting there for some time. So, but we were talking about the importance of this, and so hopefully sometime soon, Justin.
Sometime soon, hopefully. But one solution I think you potentially could do, Jeff, because I know you got lots of machines available to you, is on one of your next events where you're going to have a bunch of emojis, just put the emoji page full screen on one of those things and do a screen recording of it. So it's just the emojis. And then you could use that when you actually do a recording later on. And so you get all of those emojis while you're waiting for us, but there's nothing students or anything. It's just an emoji.
That's a great idea, because I could even layer over in key so it shows someone on stage. You know what I mean? Like, I could probably find some creative ways to do that and just cut it out a little bit.
Yep. And I think you can actually make that page background transparent, or you could even make it a green color and then key it later on, so you could then stick it over the top.
That's a really great idea. Cool. Well, I'm hoping it lands on your fun project. Justin is bored and wants to do something creative list, which should be the official name of that list in your phone if you don't have it. But until then, that's a great workaround.
Well done.
I'm loving your setup, Jeff. And I'm thinking I'm thinking about doing a similar thing. I'm trying to make my background less techie than it was, like it was full of screens and stuff. And so it's in a state of flux at the moment, but this is my office. And I was just in the studio all day for meetings and wanted a more comfortable ergonomic chair. So I moved over here, but I typically do meetings in there, but this is great because like a call like this where I'm working on other things in the back end, it's kind of nice to have different settings. Yeah, it's great.
But
Nice.
Grant, I do keep telling Jeff he needs to move the fingers just a little bit closer to his head.
That's right. Just as
I had them like that the other day, and I was like, okay, slide it over a little bit. Part of me thinks it's funny to have bunny ears, and I just want to see if someone comments. But I'm like, okay, let's be appropriate.
It's awesome. It's very
professional.
Unfortunately, nice. All right, David. A question about local recording to an external hard drive. What are you up to?
Yes, Grant. You mentioned crap. Okay. Do you have yes? Okay. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I literally just unboxed the camera today, and
okay.
So here's my question: to back up your content during an event to an external hard drive, I've got the A10 Pro.
Okay. Yep.
It's got the various things in the back. Am I recording directly off the computer, attaching an external hard drive to the computer, or am I attaching external hard drive to the A10? Which device has an external hard drive plugged into it? The main computer for the broadcast, one of the ports in the A10, or should I have a secondary computer that's doing the local recording? Mechanically, how do you arrange that?
Probably all of the above. So it depends. Is that A10 mini? Is that a ISO?
It's the Mini Pro.
Okay.
Not the ISO.
So before we go too far down this route, because I know a little bit about David's setup and how much he probably doesn't really want to play fully in the tech world, I would say you could just use the Zoom cloud recordings. After hundreds of events, I've never actually had it fail as long as you hit the record button. So that's the simplest solution to go with.
That was a small thing to say. Like, as in you just washed over the fact that as long as you hit record or no one else
you hit record, I mean, you got to always hit record. And then other one,
I've had recordings not work, but go ahead.
Yeah, the other option to record locally in Zoom, so then you get the attendees in there, and you could with some of the recent updates we've actually done inside of Obvio, you can actually turn on local recordings. Thanks for Zoom. And then you could record whatever's showing up in your Zoom view, your speaker view or gallery view. And if you're on multi-view, then it'll just stay on speaker. So that'd be one way to back it up in the simplest solution to get attendees in there. Because the problem you get when you start doing ATEMs is unless you're routing the attendees and the attendee audio in, it's just you. And so the minute they're asking a question, your recording doesn't have that inside the ATEM unless you're routing them back in. So I'd just go for you, I would go all Zoom so that keep it nice and simple and call it a day. For all the rest of if you want to go more techie, I'm going to let Grant answer that one because that's where he was going.
Well, no, and I agree. I agree with what you're saying, Justin. I guess all I would add is for the cost of a hard drive, why wouldn't you just run that on the ATEM? To the point that I was saying before, that probably 95% of the content is you anyway. And so if at the end of the day you had a failure and you didn't have recording work in Zoom, what you will have is a recording of you. It'll be a high quality recording, and you could use it. You can use that recording, that setup, almost like a dash cam in a way. Dash cam in the way that dash cams work is that they just constantly record, but it might only be 12 hours of the recording, right? In the same way, at the end of every event, you confirm that you've got the Zoom recording. Great. Delete the hard drive, delete everything off the hard drive and away you go. Before, you confirm one day, you confirm the Zoom, oh no, it didn't quite record properly, or it didn't, whatever, I can't access whatever it was. Okay, I've got my ATEM recording of me at least. I can now at least piece together something and cut out the questions, and I've now got at least a session that I can use. So that's the type of stuff that I think about. Is backups are often something that are disposable. I'm happy with what I've got, delete everything else. But it doesn't hurt. You've got the functionality there. Let it record. And in the same way, the local recording that Justin's talking about, in fact, is Ash. Ash, isn't it? Hello, Ash. It's good to see you.
Sorry, Vimeo's not working yet. We'll just answer that question before Ash unmutes and ask.
That's right. It's like, why do I have to download and upload? Ash, you do a lot of the recordings. I know that record all of those and then just push them off as is.
Yep.
And we've had a few people that do use local recording to quite advanced levels where they're switching the show as they go, switching from gallery view to full screen, back to gallery view to shared screen, and all of that on a Zoom local recording is recording whatever is on that computer screen. So David, when you spoke about, having a separate computer that's just sitting there doing a local recording, it's not a terrible idea. That's a good way. It's a further backup, and you've got that file then locally, and you're able to. It does take some time to transcode. So the longer that it's running, and the longer it takes to transcode post event, but it's another thing. So I think just having a few approaches to this is important. So.
And then the next question to go with that is which hard drive? And so I'm just going to give one hard drive recommendation because not all hard drives are created equal for the ATEM.
Sure.
I've had really good luck, and I have several of them. The Samsung T7 Shield, not the regular T7, but the T7 Shields have worked fantastic for me. I have a couple 4 terabyte ones, and I can record all 3 days onto one. And then swap them in and out as need be. Just don't get the regular T7 because those have not worked well. But the T7 Shield works fantastic.
Special comments down on the field with Muddy. Muddy, special comments.
Can I just ask one more quick question? So you've discussed having the Zoom, I presume cloud recording do all of the functions through Obvio. And there's a particular setting for that to ensure it, or is that the default?
Yeah, it's default. As soon as you start the meeting, it's already recording in the cloud. So you'd have to actively stop it. You'd have to stop recording, which you and any co-host can do. And so that's important. That it's often human error is where we get problems with this type of thing. So if it's only you're the only host, you just let it run, then you'll be fine.
Okay. So if I were wanting to have, in addition to the default Zoom cloud recording, have a local hard drive recording of material, that would obviously, as you mentioned, just be me. Would I record it through the ATEM, one of the ports in the ATEM, or would I use one of the ports on my Mac Mini?
So tell me how much,
it's going to be
much
an
of your
easy
content.
answer.
Yeah, it depends on the content, right, Muddy?
No, the A10 Mini Pro only has one USB port.
That is correct. All the rest are HDMI.
If you connect that with USB to your computer, which is the simplest way to connect it, it shows up as a webcam on your computer, but you no longer have access to that port to plug a hard drive in. So if you have that plugged into your computer, you don't have the option of plugging in a hard drive to the A10 Mini Pro. Now, the other way to get an output signal is to use the HDMI port out of the A10 Mini Pro and then put that into a capture card in the computer that frees up the USB port that you could have a hard drive there. However, then you lose the ability to have a multi-view, right? Like if you have multiple cameras and you want to have the visibility of the different multiple cameras. So there's a little bit of a trade-off with that device. And so that's why I say the answer is relatively easy, because the way you connect it is going to dictate what options you have. And the only other thing I wanted to say is that if you wanted to do a local Zoom recording, in addition, the beautiful thing about the cloud recording is it records all the things. It records screen share by itself, speaker view by itself, gallery view by itself. So you end up with 4 or 5 different versions of the recording that you could mix and match in post if you want to, because they all have the same audio and the same length. So it's super easy to line them up on a timeline and cut and show different things. So it makes editing easy. If you wanted to have a local backup, what you would do is you would plug that hard drive into your computer, and then you would tell your local Zoom client where to store recordings, because by default, it's going to store them in one location that's not that external hard drive. So you'll need to go into your Zoom client settings. Those are the ones right in the Zoom app itself, and tell it where you want the local the local recordings to be captured.
So bottom line, if I'm recording through Obvio, unless Zoom breaks, everything's getting captured in the cloud. So there's nothing to fix from that perspective.
Yeah, and if you never touch the recording button, which is my strong advice, then, like Grant said, as soon as you start the meeting, it starts recording. And you can always cut out the parts you don't want, but you can't get them back. So that's the risk of touching the recording button. So my advice is just let it record and trim out the parts you don't want.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, there's a lot in this, and it's some of it is the scars from not having recordings, and so I can often talk about, like, I just wouldn't rely on one recording. That's my thing. But and depending on the camera you've got, sometimes the camera has a recording in it as well, and you can just put a SD card in that and record directly on that too, but then you got to think about audio, and there's always things to consider. So, but you probably would be totally fine. Yeah, learn the hard way. Exactly. There you go. All the best for that. All right, Ash. Hello, sir.
Hi, I was just having a question. but I'm glad. Thank you so much. Okay, so if I want to do a recording where you have like two people on the side by side, like on
Mm.
a almost like on a stage kind of thing, and then the rest of the crowd is at the bottom or the top. Do I have to have local recording, or can I do that on the web version as well of Zoom?
So when you spotlight, um, when you spotlight and then add a spotlight, um,
Yeah.
so for example, I can do that in here. We'll see what it looks like. So I've spotlit you, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to add me. I'm going to add me to it.
Right.
Right.
So
So
yeah.
now we're
So
side
right
by
now,
side.
right. So when he does this, we are recording us side by side, right? But I want to record where it's side by side and the rest of the people are also showing up, either at the top or at the bottom. You know how you have like two or three rows of people usually? So how
Mm.
would I do that if I wanted to have that make that work?
You
Because
still
right
wanting
now,
you're wanting that in the cloud recording, right? Like you'll. This is
yeah, if I
ideally it.
can, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this,
Yeah. No. So what happens is the spotlight actually overrides the gallery view,
yeah,
right? And so what's happening now in this recording is that active speaker is still working, and then the gallery view is what changes to this. Isn't that right, Justin?
That is correct.
Hmm. And so the gallery view sort of disappears. The 20
yeah,
the 5x5 grid disappears and is replaced by this with this
yes,
two up.
yep,
And so you're missing the gallery view at that point.
mm-hmm,
So there's no way to do it for the cloud recording to get it, but it would be doing something externally to manage that, to be able to still have the gallery view. The local recording, I don't think would do that either.
mm-hmm.
A local Zoom recording.
What if
Um,
I had two Zoom accounts? Like one Zoom account dedicated for recording, and that's set up on a maybe like a speaker view or some other view where it's recording that style, and then the one is for presentation and things like that. Would that be?
so so you would then want to combine those afterwards in video editing software. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not editing anything. It's
Yeah,
literally
okay.
they're gonna get what they see. That's it.
Right. So no,
I'm not, yeah. Sorry. Like I
no, the
know I'm
multiple devices won't help you.
not
Other
gonna help.
accounts and things won't help. Yeah, I mean, you could jerry rig something in with a third view that showed the gallery view, and you could spotlight, a third view or something. But I don't think it.
No.
I don't think it would work that well. So
Hmm.
you're
I have
really
a
stuck
mentor who
with just
does that constantly, and I follow him all the time. Or not follow him, but I have his stuff, and he does that all the time, where he would have like two people at the top, and then the rest of the people at the bottom. I don't know how he does it. I've asked several
he
times, but
does
he
he
obviously they're not. He's like, talk to your tech team or whatever.
he'll
So
be he
essentially,
won't be
like I'm
just
trying to
using
figure.
he won't
Huh?
be just using Zoom. That's the point. He won't be just using Zoom. He's
Oh,
likely he'll be likely using Ecamm, or is using some other software that's pulling in, and being able to there's some other systems that can bring multiple people in, and then you show a big version of someone. They've got gallery view around them and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
it's just a
I
completely
do
different setup.
know for sure he uses OBS. I know for sure on
Okay.
that front.
Okay. Yeah.
And but anyways, so with Zoom is not possible basically. Period. Right?
Well, yeah, that's right. But Zoom alone, yeah. And so um, nothing nothing that's advanced like that is going to be done with
With Zoom.
little effort, or just the tools
Yeah.
you've got now. Like it's gonna
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna
I mean,
take
I'm
time.
going to assume I'm going to need more things, but the question is, I don't know what more things I would need even. If it's a
Is
software
it
or something, I can get
is it
probably.
that important?
Not right now, but it will at some point. You know what I mean? I like, uh, probably not that important, but like I like the view. That's all I can say, right? I mean, right now he's doing his job. I record, it goes to my Vimeo. I'm happy. Like
Yeah,
I mean, I'm in a good spot, right? So, and I just do
it's an
recordings every day, so it's not like,
yeah.
so it's not
I
like,
I'm like the lift that it takes for you to be able to do it, and whether it's in OBS or it's in Ecamm or vMix, or you can use all sorts of different software to do it. But
mm,
it's a big lift for arguably a limited increase in what you're currently doing.
yeah, okay,
But if you wanted to do a whole bunch of other things, you wanted to have some lower third text of who people are, and you want questions to show up and slides to show up in a particular way, and have people's faces fly in and out and all that sort of stuff, then you really want to change the whole production flow. Then you would have a tech that does that for you, and it manages it all
right,
for you. You know,
yeah,
so there's lots of ways to do it. We could get right into it, but I think that what you're talking about is not worth it for
it's
for
not,
what you're doing at the moment. Yeah.
okay. Well,
Sorry to
that,
disappoint you.
no, you're not
You hope.
disappointing me. You're good, buddy. Like I thank you for that, and it answers my question. It's a very, you're right. It's
If I,
not a necessity. It is hasn't been until now. Everybody loves whatever I'm doing, so I'm not seeming to mind it. But I figured if I can do it, then I would. But if it's too much,
yeah.
then I don't think I want to get into it right now.
I wish that I give you an AI response. Yeah. So you just go into the settings and you turn on gallery view for when spotlighting. It's like, oh, great. Like, yeah, I want how many people with spotlight. Yeah, just that. You
Yeah.
you just toggle that on and then it's done.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't exist.
Thank you so
No
much.
worries.
Thank you.
Cool. Uh, I just checked. We had. Hey, Giselle. Um, you can we use Ecamm with Obvio on Zoom?
100% yes.
It's the right answer. And how easy is it, Justin?
I don't think it's the hardest part is getting, if you want to use the Zoom part of Ecamm, the hardest part is knowing how to get that into Avio because we don't make it directly accessible and obvious.
Yeah.
But if you're just using it for overlays and
getting
visuals
you
and
into Zoom. Yeah.
getting you into Zoom and using as your virtual camera,
Totally fine.
no problems getting that in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that was the only hesitation. So
Yep.
was that it was really just that sometimes we talk about, can you use Ecamm with Zoom, and we think, oh yeah, I want to bring in the gallery view, or I want to bring in someone I'm speaking and bring that into Ecamm, as well as my camera, and I want to mix that all together. It's possible, but it's a little bit trickier. But if all you're talking about is you want to use Ecamm because you can do some fancy things on your camera and what people see in Zoom, then yeah, Zoom will see the Ecamm output as the virtual camera, and in it comes, and that'll work totally fine. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Great.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Cool. All right. And then is it Case? I'm sorry how to say your name. It's Case. Casey. Casey. So to say. Thank you.
Casey, but spelled different.
Right.
Thank you. I think my questions are very short. I did record automatically to the cloud for my class meetings that I have, and I had a lot of problems losing recordings. So I don't know if anybody else has had that problem. And so I asked if you have, and if so, did you figure out what caused it? And so I'm a little bit panicked about using that. I always stop the recording and start it to my own device. And the second one, my second question
Well,
is,
let me take one at a time. so when was this that you experienced that? Was it?
Over the
It was a
last,
while ago, a couple of years. Yeah.
yeah. So the person that set everything up made it so it would automatically record to the cloud. Then I would go back and I would see a recording, but I could not download it.
Okay.
And she had the same problem. So it got corrupted somehow. Now, it could be that my Mac, because it's very old, like 13 years, it could be that it doesn't have the capacity and that's somehow corrupting it. But then often it didn't have any problem. So since I didn't know, you know, what the problem was, I just quit doing that. But I wasn't doing events then either.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that experience was, and that there might have been a couple of things that related. Generally what we say is that recordings are available for 60 days after they've been recorded, at which point they are removed. And so the encouragement to everyone is as soon as those recordings become available, that you download them and keep them, you keep them yourself. And so but as far as like it being, corrupted or not working, we'd have to sort of dive into the diagnosis of that. What I will tell you is that if people are seeing you and hearing you perfectly fine in Zoom, then that's the way the cloud recording works as well. So it's not extra taxing on your computer to be recording in the cloud. Local recording does add extra or need extra capacity on your local computer. But cloud recording, what we're doing right now, doesn't need anything more from your computer. It's just sending audio and video once. It's being sent to people live in the Zoom meeting and being recorded in the cloud as well. And
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's helpful to connect those two together, to just understand that's what
recording problems, and it's for an ongoing group. So I transferred that night to Searchy, and I couldn't. It wasn't 60 days late, so I don't know what the problem was. But can I ask myself a question real quick?
You can, please.
Okay, yesterday I had such an epiphany in the meeting with Barry, and what I saw is what has wasted so much of my time, because you know how they talk about everything's a smorgasbord or a buffet and you can go and get some of this and some of this and some of this. But in diving down into this stuff and learning something, that's a totally different process than figuring out how to apply it. First step, second step, third step. So when Barry did that for us, I felt like I lost 60 pounds because I was wasting, like today, I'm so late to this meeting. I should have been early, but I went to the roadmap. I went to blah, blah, blah. Finally, Justin rescued me. I've been here many times, but I couldn't find my path back. And I have said to some of you tech guys before, we need a bulleted list and you could make a lot of money. And now I know it for sure because Barry gave us a bulleted list of what to do first, second, third, fourth, which rescues us from the need to understand the whole process so we can integrate it. So I turned around from my meeting today with my people and did that for them in a class that I've taught many times before, but I have to reformat and I was totally stuck. Oh my God. It was so exciting because they had the same problem. We're talking about complex subjects where you have to go in and study each element, which is totally different than studying how the elements go together. And then listening to you guys today, I realized I still don't know the lingo. So I got out the lexicon that you directed me to before, which was very helpful. But do we have a more advanced terminology definition, dictionary lexicon, something like that. So do we have a lexicon? And what do we have as far as flow sheets or integrations for if you're going to do your thing via Obvio? First you do this, then you do this, then you do this. Do we have anything like that?
We don't, but it does keep coming up, and actually, I really appreciate you bringing this up here, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, as it's well and truly overdue, and the analogy that I've just had as you've been talking is the GPS in the car.
Yeah,
the way that I now use my GPS is I often put it on even for the places that I know how to get to. And why is that? Because it removes a cognitive load. It removes me thinking about, now where do I go to from here? I don't know, but here's this, the GPS says you turn left here. Now,
and it also gives data like, is there traffic stoppage? Is there this? Is there that?
Right.
But there's also problems because if it has magnetic field interference or I don't know what, but I got directed off of Freeway 10 to a border check.
Oh, wow.
I'm just going across America with my elderly mother. And all of a sudden I'm on off roads and I'm like, logically, I'm going, well, anyway, I'm digressing.
Yeah.
Please continue.
No. Yeah. I think a basic GPS, almost a map quest, if you will, if you remember those, was to say that, these are the steps. If you're going to do this, then these are the steps, and you might use them every time. The thing that I keep thinking about is what that experience looks like. I mean, yes, at this point, a PDF that you can download and print out would be better than what we've got now. But something within Obvio that is kind of directing you through the steps is something that I continually think about as making that more straightforward.
I volunteer to write it if I can be of any help, because I need to learn this. And so I'll also be able to help check it, because things that you guys will just fill in from your knowledge, I don't have that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Do I agree with that, but I also just caught Amy's comment as well, and I would totally agree. And that was her first thing was saying, "Hiya, Muddy." There is something about getting to a point where you are able to just have a team member that works for you, that does all this stuff for you, that you don't need to know it. And I mean, look, maybe that's the equivalent of having a driver. And that might sound like it's unattainable. It was like I would never pay for a driver to drive me around. But if you really distilled everything that you can do down to where is the best place for me to invest my time, it's probably not going to be in learning every aspect of Obvio. And the driver example would be that if I could pay a driver, and I can now, that gains me more time to invest in the things that I do better, and I get a better return on that, then it's worth having a driver who just takes me and does the thing.
But finding the driver is a big investment also. So when I first bought this class, for what I'm doing, I didn't have another X number of $1,000. I have no idea what it costs to hire any of my colleagues here. And it's not that I don't think it would be a good investment, but I don't know how to find them, where to go, who does what. So that's just another time and money drain for me, until somebody like Amy comes out and says, what she just did is exactly what I asked. What should you do? She said 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can follow up on that. Muddy, you maybe should be sending us stuff, but maybe you're not allowed to. But anyway, I appreciate all that.
Yeah.
And if anybody else has any input to guide me, because I'm working full time, and like all of you guys, we have such complicated lives. And I was up to here and I was despairing. And all of a sudden I see the way forward. And now I'm like, I'm in action, but that's what it took. It took, like you said, taking off this huge process. And I think that what we do is complicated enough just in what we do. Forget about all the 3-day events and all that kind of stuff. I really identified with what Barry did because what I teach is very complicated. So I saw my people having exactly the same issue. So I was able to go in, do this thing for them, and just see them light up, just like I lit up yesterday. And I realized this is so much power that you're offering us, and we still need to be educated consumers. We can hire people as we go, but if I'm talking to people about leadership or training or education or communication, I can assess myself. If I'm talking to people about technology, I'm a foreigner in a strange land. So,
yeah.
Casey, the advice that I would give you since you are in Leap, go up to the Friday office hours calls with Blue or the Q&A calls and ask them as Leapers, what would they recommend having on the dashboard? What are those non-negotiable pieces? Once you know what you're looking to get on the dashboard, then if you don't know how to do it, I'm talking about the Leap calls. So we have a Q&A call once a month. We have a weekly office hours calls. Then you can ask.
You're saying, what should I have on the dashboard? I have a Leap dashboard. Are you talking about my Obvio event dashboard?
On your Obvio event dashboard, because what Barry and Blue can do for us in Leap is based off their process, they can recommend what they think you should have on the dashboard. And then once you know that info, if you're not sure how to get it on the dashboard, it'd be great to bring that back in this meeting and be like, I'm trying to do this on the dashboard. And you help walk me through how to do that. Because there's so much stuff inside of Obvio. Even though I've done hundreds of events inside of Obvio, there's pieces of Obvio I've still never used on an event where I know Jeff uses some of those pieces in every one of the events that he runs. And so to help just guide you so that you don't have to learn a boatload of stuff when you only need the fishing rod, but get Barry and Blue to let you know what do they think you need, and then we can help you get that info on the dashboard.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. Thank you guys. I really appreciate your time.
It's really good. No, I really appreciate you raising all of this because it really is important. There's two sides to tackle this, and one is that we do need to lift our game in making things easier for instructions about how to step through things, as well as the Obvio interface itself stepping you through those processes. And then there's also the human side of it as well, and having other people help you and all of that. So there's both of them.
But you guys are going through the same thing we are, because you're inventing Obvio as you go.
Yeah.
So obviously, you have not had the opportunity to integrate everything you know in order to translate it for us.
No.
And so busy doing the next thing that when are you going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So it might be, and that's why I said, if I can help, because like what Justin said, okay, he gave me the first thing of what to do first, second, third. Mm-hmm. And then Amy gave me some more. So I could go back and write down my process. And then you guys could go, oh yeah, or no, try this instead. I mean, it's really simple at the level that I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Very good.
And it is on our roadmap, Casey, to update some help documentation. There's some other proof of concepts that we're working on behind the scenes to try to put a little bit more help stuff inside of Obvio, not just like documents, but actual things that might potentially do some work for you or guide you along within the platform so that you don't have to do the documents.
I'm blown away all the time, every week, with what you guys accomplish, the next thing on the horizon, whether it's Barry telling us the integration or the check sheet or whatever. It's like, I think that I've never been part of such a dynamic class as this whole structure. This is complicated. And you guys are all excellent, but it's like, I was at Charleston with a lot of you. You, Justin, I talked to your wife at a bit of length, but I still had zero idea of what you really do. And
that goes for Justin too.
And Grant, behind the scenes, you're killing me because I keep adding a question back so I can do a demo.
Oh, no worries. Sorry, dude.
Well, I gotta let you guys go because we all have to go.
No worries. It's all good stuff. It's all very good stuff. Yeah, we're going to keep working. We're going to keep working on that. We really do want to make it a bit easier. That's like, this is the pathway to get from LA to San Diego. This is what you do. Here's the steps, and then to get from LA to New York, these are the steps. That just because of spoon feed you the way to do it. So yeah, I really want to. I'm thinking about it just about daily at the moment about best ways to do that. So thank you. It's timely. All right. If there's no other questions, I think Justin's got a little demo.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about some updates that we have done. Make sure I share the right screen here. That you should be looking at. Grant, let me know if I got the right screen up. Should show like enable direct room access.
Yep, it's all good. Yep.
Perfect. So we have talked several times on this call about this little cog at the end to configure the form and how you put in the description and then you click the save button and all these fields for first name, last name, email address are now blank on your registration page. Now they have default values for all of these fields so that if all you're wanting to do is update the description, it'll at least save first name, last name, email, join the room. But both for those of us that are on the pro plan below that have the enabled direct room access, it works for this. For those of us that are on the enterprise plan that also have the same thing, but at the area level, they also have default values now as well.
Great.
And then next update we did, and I also discovered a feature at the same time, Grant, so I kept having to add a question back, because when the question disappears, so does the configuration.
You're right.
So
okay, interesting.
Yeah. So one of the changes that we made for the lower thirds is we added the ability to have a page background. Before it was always hard set to some color, but now you can actually either change the background color to something else if you wanted to, or you can actually make it, change the opacity in here. So for those of us that are using it, that are keying things out, you can put it to whatever key color that you actually need in here. And then last demo, well, for us, we've gotten lots and lots of fun feedback over the time about some lorem ipsum placeholder text and whatnot on our Obvio sales page. So a couple weeks ago, we released a new Obvio sales page that doesn't have any placeholder text, has real stuff on it. All of the actual pricing in the plans are actually accurate for what they are. All of the, whether it's monthly or annual that you choose, all the getting started buttons will actually go over to the actual purchase page. As long as you're not logged into an existing Obvio account, it'll go to the purchase page and you can sign up for whichever plan is there. So I know like Jeff has sent it to people, Muddy sent it to people, I've sent it to people, and they're like, I can't purchase. I can't actually, all it's got is placeholder text. Well, all of that is gone, and we've got an actual real page that lays out features that we have in here, lays out what the heck the platform's for, when you might be able to use it. So that is live and in production, so feel free to send that to all of your friends that were wondering, does Obvio a real company? Yes, we're a real company. We have a real sales page.
We've really grown up in the last couple of weeks.
That we have.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's great.
Your mother and I are very proud.
That's right. Yeah.
Now we just need Jeff to run another workshop, because that was the #1 question on his last workshop.
Everyone was like, is this legit? I've heard of Jeff. I don't know what this. Do you realize the font has been replaced? You need to fix your website. And Justin and I are back there, and we're just like, oh no. Oh no.
That's awesome. Great work. All right. Any last minute questions before we close it down for today? No. All right. Thank you, everyone. We will do this all again next week at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Thanks so much. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.